FOMC day. Today is the day when finally we find out if we're going to get that rotation away from a 75 base point rate hike to our first 50 basis point rate hike. That would signal an official pivot from increasing rate hikes to finally, although we're still hiking, getting our first lesser rate hike. Today is a big day. Yesterday we covered off the huge surprise shock CPI reading, which led to a triple beat, allowing markets to pump. And today we're going to find out from the FOMC what to expect and how this can move the market. So we're going to break that down, all the different scenarios. Are we going to see 75 basis points? Could we see 50 basis points? And some are even calling for 25 basis points. Could that be on the cards? And more importantly, what could the plan be for the next few FOMC meetings? We're going to get straight into it, guys. Smash the likes. Don't forget to subscribe. As always, check out the links in the description if you want to buy any cryptocurrencies. And as you can see, the pre-market is sitting a little bit tentative today after a big day yesterday. Of course, a lot of green in the market yesterday. Bitcoin getting close to that 18,000 mark, just sitting shy of it now at 17,800. You've got the S&P flat, NASDAQ futures flat, and the Dow futures flat, waiting for the decision. You can see Fear and Greed Index exactly as we projected, notching up to 30, right? This was sitting at 27 yesterday, and I said this will come in at 30 after this positive CPI reading, and you can now see we're out of that extreme fear category and sitting in just fear, right? Now if we come over to the Fed rate monitor tool, because this is the main crux of the matter today. Are we going to see 75 basis points or 50 basis points? As you can see in the market currently, 78% of the market, so a vast majority of the market, is expecting 50 basis points. And they have been for a very long time, right? Jerome Powell came out just over a week ago with very dovish remarks, pretty much telegraphing the fact that he was going to do 50 basis points. Now, the only thing standing in the way of that actually happening was the data, because if new data emerged, maybe he would have to backtrack on what he was saying. Now, since then, obviously the CPI beat, and that means that that data backs up the idea that we could see 50 basis points today. Remember, CPI coming down from 7.7 to 7.1. The projection was 7.3. So a beat on headline inflation, a beat on core inflation as well. So things are looking good. Now, only 21% of the market is projecting a 75 basis points, but it's still significant. 1/5 of the market is still expecting a 75 basis point rate hike, which is interesting. Incidentally, nobody here on this radar is pricing in 25 basis points, and I think that's sensible. I don't think Jerome Powell is going to do a 25 basis point, nor do I think he's going to do 75 basis points. I think the most likely scenario, as the market does, is that we will see a 50 basis points. And the reason for 50 basis points is it gives Jerome Powell the opportunity to pivot. Right? He's right in that middle ground, which will then allow him, if the data gets worse in the rest of December and January before the next meeting on February the 1st, he then has the option to go, you know what, I can easily ramp things back up to 75 basis points if I need to, but similarly, I can come cooler to 25 basis points if I need to. So it gives him that nice middle ground where he's agile to either direction. Today, we're sat here on the December meeting, and as you can see, the majority of the markets are expecting this 50 basis points. But then what is likely in the next meetings? Well, what this finally gives us is a plan. And this is why the markets are quite euphoric right now, because we can almost say, if things continue to go well, if CPI continues to come down, if the labor market continues to tighten, we could almost see a 25 basis point rate hike in the next meeting as soon as Feb 2023, which is quite exciting. And then the question comes in March, what do we get? Will we see another 25 basis points, or perhaps even our first 0% increase, which would be a pause? And that is where markets are going to be super euphoric. That is what we're actually looking for, okay? So if you're playing out this scenario as a bull, we're going to see enjoyment today if we see 50 basis points, because that's our first pivot. We could see another happy moment when we rotate down to 25 basis points. And then a huge moment when we finally get our pause, because that can mean that finally we're coming to an end of a tightening cycle. And then even further excitement if in May, or perhaps in the following meeting thereafter, maybe later in the year, we could get our first cut, our first rate cut. So that's what we're looking for here. in the markets. And that's one of the reasons why the markets are rallying, right? Because finally we have a plan of saying, okay, how do we rotate away from this environment we're in? So things are looking good. We're expecting 50 basis points today. Let's take a quick look here at the charts. Bitcoin breaking to the upside of this rising wedge after the positive CPI reading yesterday. Let me just pull that up for you guys so you can see it. There we go. Breaking out to the upside of this rising wedge, which is fantastic. You're now getting a consolidation. If I switch down to the hourly chart, you can see a little bit of a bull flag forming, right? A little bit of consolidation after a big move yesterday. And now it's going to wait for the next decision, which is going to be our FOMC. So we're going to be streaming that live later on today. Make sure you got notification bell switched on. Make sure you subscribe. We will be covering it off. And remember, it's not just about the rate hike decision. It's also about the comments that Jerome Powell shares. So it's really important that we're not just focused on the rate decision. Most of the market's expecting 50 basis points already, but it's what does Jerome Powell do in terms of telegraphing what I just showed you on the iPad. Do we have a plan of when we're going to get 25 basis points? Is it on the thinking already? If it is, markets are going to be really, really happy. If he comes and talks soft to the market, if he sweet talks the market, markets will rally really nicely. On the other hand, he could do a bit of a double poison, right? What he could do is come out and say, you know what, I'm going to give you 50 basis points, but I've seen that the market's a little bit excited after the CPI reading, so I'm going to give it a couple of slaps in the press conference, right? So he may do that as well. So you've got to watch out for this stuff, especially if you're trading. Be very, very careful. Only risk what you're willing to lose. Make sure you know what you're doing. Stay away from leverage. And just keep it very, very simple if you're inexperienced at trading. Okay, like I say, if you're inexperienced, practice with some lunch money. That's how I got started in trading. I would just practice with a little bit of lunch money every so often. So, press conference, super important. Is he going to talk soft to us? Is he going to be dovish? If he gives us a plan or talks about 25 basis points, the market could go crazy. And in terms of going crazy, remember, the key levels I'm looking for is, can we recoup that 18,800 level? I know it seems a little bit far away, but I want to get back into the channel. So far, so good, right? We've got above 17,600. I'm really happy at that because remember, that was the level from the previous June low that I've kept repeating myself about, and I didn't want to get rejected. Even now, it could potentially happen. So either I want to see this, a retest, and we do this, fine, I'm happy with that, or just a straight climb. Nice 50 basis points, a soft Jerome Powell, we can get back into this channel. And onwards and upwards we go here on crypto. Those are the positive cases. What's the negative scenario? Well, the negative scenario is he goes ahead and does 75 basis points. Very unlikely. Only about 15-20% of the market is pricing that in, but that would then throw you straight back, into my opinion, down to that 16,240 level. If he puts us at 75 basis points and talks hawkish, that would bring you even lower. I really don't expect him to do that. There's no need for him to do that. He can do the 50 basis points. He can come out. Even if he wants to be hawkish, as long as we get that 50 basis points, at least we can secure this level and try to get a little bit of movement. Remember, I think there's going to be more benefit to the press conference than the 50 basis points. That's what I'm trying to explain here. We've already priced in, 80% of the market is priced in that we're seeing 50 basis points. So there's more downside risk at this point of if he doesn't do 50 basis points. But what could be good is if he does 50 basis points, we lock that in, and then he speaks a little bit dovish. In the press conference, he starts to say things are improving. We're starting to see a trend, maybe 25 basis points as soon as Q1 next year, and the markets could really take positively to that. So there you have it, guys. A big day in the markets. We will be live streaming it, so make sure you join us. Lots going on here in terms of the macro economy. And finally, we're starting to see some early green shoots of recovery. Guys, don't forget to smash the likes. Don't forget to subscribe. Check out this video here, and I'll see you in the live stream.